Brian Bassett, Chief of Police for Sylvan Lake. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Ronnie. I appreciate it.
We were speaking earlier in the show with State Rep Brenda Carter, and she was talking a little bit about a town hall meeting that they had with all the area chiefs of police and people from the community. Do you want to put your 2 cents on that? How was that town hall?
So it was great to be invited by the representative, and I appreciated the opportunity. And I know that I actually was watching earlier, and I know she talked about the fact that we had Orchard Lake joined us, Auburn Hills, Oakland County sheriffs who are doing the law enforcement in the city of Pontiac, but then also the community was able to come on and ask questions. And I think sometimes when you look at some of the conversations that we're having across the country, it looks like there's this larger divide between the law enforcement community and the folks that they're serving. I would argue that sometimes there has definitely been some lack of communication and a breakdown of that communication, but I think we're a lot closer than people think. There's a lot of great work that's been done in law enforcement over the years, and I think it's great when we have an opportunity to talk directly to the community about some of those issues.
Because I think with social media, some of these narratives can be pushed to a degree without the validity that they actually need behind the stories that's being told. And so to be able to have these opportunities to speak directly to our elected leaders and to the people of the community has to be a good thing, because one incident can spiral out of control like that.
Yeah, and really to that same point, we have an incident wherever, and I'm not speaking about any particular incident, but whether it is in Minneapolis or whether it's in Texas, and you have all of a sudden people believing that is happening here or that is happening in their police department. That's why it's so important for us and in law enforcement community to get a chance to actually speak to our community directly and say, this is what we are doing here in Sylvan Lake. This is what we are doing in Kego Harbor or Orchard Lake or Pontiac. And that's why, those kind of things and those tragedies we've seen, they're not going to happen here. We are doing the training, we have the expertise, and we have the right people working for your community, that we're not going to have some of those issues. But again, that's why we have to be out there and have those conversations.
Yeah, it's about community relations. I think even more so when we are in these small communities. And with that, Chief, you're fairly new to this position. How's it going?
It's going great. Sylvan Lake is, as we say, we're the prettiest little town in Michigan, and it is true. It's just a great community. It's very supportive. It's a community that I've seen just in the short time that I've been privileged to be here. A number of times people will step up and help their neighbors, whether that's the neighbor, down the street, or it's the neighbor, 5 miles away at a neighboring community. I've seen them step up, and it's just a great community to be a part of, and it's been great.
So I will let you know, because it's after the event now. So we were a little worried on Thanksgiving Day. Sylvan Lake had a small turkey trot, and because the turkey trot wasn't taking place in downtown Detroit, my friends and I, we put on our turkey outfits and we did the run through Sylvan Lake and knocked on doors of people we didn't even know and wished them a happy Thanksgiving. And we were kind of like at some point going, do you think they're going to call the police? I was like, that's okay.
Well, I know exactly the event you're talking about, and I think everybody, was careful. We were outside. It was a great event, and for a lot of people, including my own family, the turkey trot is a tradition, right? You do that every year. You go and you use it, at least in my own mind, I use it to justify my excessive eating later in the day, right? And so I've burned off at least a couple hundred calories, so it justifies my 5,000 calorie meal later. But it was, it's one of those little things because of the pandemic that has been tough, right? A lot of people weren't able to do that one tradition with family and friends. So I'm glad that people did the kind of informally, socially distanced 5K through, or actually it was 5K and 10K through the streets of Sylvan Lake?
We kind of walked it, but it was like, typically in Detroit, we wear turkey outfits and you fit right in. Like, we're underdressed if we're just in a turkey outfit. Sylvan Lake, first time doing it, we kind of felt like we stood out, but I will say we had such a great response for so many of the people and the residents there in Sylvan Lake that we're like, we're done with Detroit. We're doing Sylvan Lake every year.
So I'll tell you this, because of this, I and my kids said, well, Dad, how, because they've run it with me in past years. And they said, well, Dad, we're not going to see the banana guy. We need to see the banana guy, because there's always, every year, there's the guy who runs in the banana. And I mean, there's a list of costumes, but that's for whatever reason, that's the one that stuck with them. But because of that, we actually did, so I did the same thing with my own family. I did a 5K with them. I set up a course and we actually ran the 5K, and I even got medals for them. So that at the end of the 5K, we put medals on the kids. It's not the same as the great parade and the turkey trot downtown, but we tried to keep, some sense of normalcy and tradition at our house too.
Yeah, I broke out all my past medals and handed them out to the people who participated with me, because how many medals do you need? You have 100, but did you dress up as a banana?
No, it's worse than that. Somebody, a friend, well, he's a former friend now after what he did, he bought me, it's a Halloween costume of a police officer, except it's a police officer dress. So it was quite a costume, but it entertained my kids, and I guess that was the point of it, right? So I ran in full costume.
This year, Thanksgiving and the holidays, it's so different than years past, but it is about trying to find new ways to celebrate and make people smile and make people laugh, which it definitely did. But can we talk a little bit about what your police department and your officers are doing for the community right now? You have a toy drive going on.
We do, yeah. Thanks for letting me kind of talk about that for a minute. So we partnered with Orchard Family Services, which, again, just a little bit about them. They've been around now for, and don't quote me on, I believe it's over 70 years, or over 60 years, I'm sorry, over 60 years. And they serve children in foster care and within different states, from either transitioning back and forth between family, whatever the case is. But they serve the surrounding 15 communities. So they have a huge group of young people that they work with, and I've had an opportunity to work with them in the past, and so I partnered with, and from Sylvan Lake, we had our Parks and Rec department, as well as our council and the police department, all partnered in this effort to try and, again, kind of like we were talking about a minute ago, try and bring some normalcy to those young people as they're working and struggling and trying to figure out their way in life.
And so with that, going forward, did you already distribute them, or are you still in the process of collecting toys? And if so, how can the community help?
So we are still in the process. We'll be collecting toys through December 11th. So we don't have a lot of time left, but there is information on the Sylvan Lake City webpage, as well as the Facebook page for the police department, that has an actual list that Orchard Family Services requested, some of the items that they're specifically looking for. But all you need to do is, at any point that works for you, please drop it off either at City Hall or the police station here, right here on 1820 Inverness. We'll take the items. They don't have to be wrapped, and we will actually get them to Orchard Family Services once we're, have everything collected.
I like that they give you a very specific list, because when I've done these things in the past, you go out and you buy and you're like, you don't know the person getting it, and you don't know if it will mean anything to them. So it's great that they actually give you a list. But on the backside of that, it means a lot to the kids. But what does it mean to you and members of your department to take part in this?
So we actually, and again, I want to, our department, but also with our other, Parks and Rec and our elected officials, we talked about it. And through this whole pandemic, I have to, and I'll just speak personally, I've been very blessed, right? I've still have a job. I haven't been financially, hurt that way. And that's not true for so many people now. So it's really a blessing for me, the opportunity to try and give back in some small way. So, as they always say, and I know it's kind of a cliche, but really, I'm getting more from this than I'm giving. So again, I feel very grateful to get to be a part of it and get to be in the position to, go out and do this.
It really does help your heart as an individual to be able to do something for other people, even for the people that are limited in their means. I've seen homeless people help other homeless people. And it's an amazing thing to see and what it does for our hearts. And knowing that, so at Sylvan Lake, you guys have a few restaurants, not really any bars or anything yet, but with the latest shutdown, I do know there are a lot of people in your community, waiters and waitresses, and I know you have the boat club, people like that. With this latest order from the health department to shut down indoor dining, any word, or have you had any issues there in Sylvan Lake with this?
So we haven't had any issues, and let me speak from the police department side as far as law enforcement issues. That being said, to your point, I mean, just as every other restaurant is going through this, we have a lot of struggling, folks who have invested so much of their time and resource and energy, and they are struggling, and there's no question about that. Whether in here in our city, we have Ellen's and the Grill and all of these great restaurants. And they're struggling. I mean, their model is just not designed for people just to grab a quick carryout. It's more of an experience. So it's been very tough on a lot of our businesses.
The Grill has become one of our go-to places. By the way, like their meatloaf is fantastic, better than anything I could actually make.
I guess I don't know one way or another. That's true enough, but I will say the Grill's meatloaf is excellent. So there's our plug for the Grill.
Yeah, right. With that, Chief, before we let you go, anything that we didn't touch on from the law enforcement standpoint as we're going through this new COVID surge that you want to talk about or address at all?
No, and I guess I almost feel like we've all probably talked about it until we're exhausted. I'm happy if there's any specific challenges people are having within our community. Please feel free to call me directly. But I also just want to touch back on our gift drive. The other thing too, I know some people have done Amazon and they just had it shipped directly here. They're on the list as gift cards and I know we're all busy, but also if you just want to donate, my kids and I have already volunteered. We'll go out and actually do the shopping and purchase it. So I'm hoping when we designed it that there's a way for everybody, if they do want to give. And again, any questions, feel free to call me directly as well, or send me an email or a text, or however you want to communicate with me.
That's awesome. And the beautiful thing about being in the small community like Sylvan Lake, they really get involved and take care of one another. So that's yes. A good thing, especially going into this holiday season.
For sure.
Well, Sylvan Lake is lucky to have you, and as a fellow Kegel neighbor, we're lucky to have you as well. So we want to say thank you to you and your entire team for all that you do for our communities, because we do know that there is a joint effort to protect all of our communities. Even though there's a border, you guys reach across the line to help all of us. So we want to say thank you.
No, thank you. And thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it.